Hello there, Mia Gradney here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston, starting with our continuing coverage of the deadly ICE shooting. Right now, a memorial grows in Houston's East End for Lorenzo Salgado. Marcelino Benito has more from the community reacting to this shooting.
A once quiet part of Canal Street in Houston's East End tonight pulsing with profound pain. The place where Lorenzo Salgado was shot and killed by ICE, now the center of the push for answers.
I feel like we in danger. Just as simple as that.
Heriberto Beltran has called the East End home for most of his life. He and the neighbors that look like him fear simply walking down the street.
Nobody has a right to kill you just because you're illegal in this country.
That fear keeping this woman from showing her face.
I'm scared, and I'm an American citizen. Why did they do this to him?
This afternoon, Lorenzo's sons stopped by the growing memorial, spending time with strangers and friends as they wait to see what comes next.
It's a crime. I think it's a crime.
Folks like Jane Creighton just want transparency and accountability, but so far, silence from those who pulled the trigger.
They say that somebody, this person tried to run over, okay? If they present proofs about that, I'm willing to change my point of view, but I haven't seen nothing yet.
That was Marcelino Benito reporting from the East End. And there are growing calls for the city of Houston and Houston police to also do a thorough review of the shooting. Here's Orko Manna with more after pressing police for answers.
If HPD could turn on a switch, pick up a piece of paper, we would have already done it.
City leaders say they cannot get involved with the probe into the shooting death of Lorenzo Salgado by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents Tuesday in Houston's East End. DHS says its Office of the Inspector General is investigating the shooting, while the FBI is looking into allegations that Salgado weaponized his vehicle and tried to run ICE agents over. But without any video footage or evidence to substantiate that account, many in the community are calling for Houston police to conduct their own independent investigation.
Is there anything at all that HPD can do, and are you looking into any avenues?
There's absolutely nothing that we can do with it.
HPD Chief Noe Diaz telling me only federal officials have jurisdiction.
There's federal rules that prohibit us, and this office will not put anybody in jeopardy for an obstruction of justice charge. So we have to make sure that we are being responsible, following the law.
But University of Houston criminal law professor Sandra Thompson says local police conducting their own separate probe will not break any laws.
HPD still has the ability currently to conduct their own investigation, correct? It's not impossible.
Yeah, that's right. They technically can. Yes, of course.
While any action taken by HPD would be difficult without cooperation from federal authorities, Thompson says it's still doable.
If they refuse to allow local officials to, for example, have access to witnesses and other evidence, then it makes it more difficult for local officials to do that. But that doesn't preclude local officials from conducting their own investigation.
Meanwhile, City Council member Joaquin Martinez is now formally requesting HPD work with the DA's office in that probe.
That's what I would like for DHS to allow us to do. And then at that point, I want HPD to do what it's supposed to do, take care of Houstonians.
But Mayor John Whitmire isn't budging.
We can't conduct an independent investigation. Even if we wanted to, which we've all expressed our desire for, we can't.
That was Orko Manna reporting for us. As this story continues to develop, get the latest updates anytime with the free KH11 app on your phone or streaming on your TV. More than a year after the deadly Texas Hill Country flooding, hope is not lost to find the remains of the missing. 2 Kerr County locals are still hard at work, spending their own time and money in a quest to bring closure to the families of those never recovered. Here's Jeremy Rogowski with their story.
Up and down the Guadalupe and the forks that feed into it.
See what we can find.
They've logged hundreds of hours.
Yeah, with us.
Cleaning up the river they love.
I got Center block right here.
Clearing out debris scattered by the raging flood.
Generators and toilets and tin and barbed wire and a little bit of everything.
Part of their mission to make local swimming holes safe and clear.
Kind of stuff you don't want to cut your foot on.
To describe what we're finding would just be the word random. There's no rhyme or reason to anything we're finding. It's like I'm calling something. Oh, there we go.
But it's what they haven't found a year later that keeps them going.
I guess it's a long shot, but it's not a hopeless shot.
Darren Potter is a local artist.
It's miles and miles and miles of river, you know, and looking for a needle in a haystack.
Looking for the two flood victims never recovered, Jeff Ramsey and Seal Stewart.
She's the same age as Seal is.
Ryan Logue has an 8-year-old daughter, just like Seal.
Every time I see her parents speak on TV, every time I talk to anybody in this community that doesn't feel closure from what happened, it makes it really hard to quit.
Ryan, who had never put on scuba gear before the July 4th flood, basically taught himself how to dive and has searched the murky waters several times a week, every week, ever since.
How's the visibility?
Depending on the day, you're anywhere from 6 inches to 4 feet.
6 inches is like this.
That's about right here.
Forcing him to often feel his way around. A daunting task that's turned up things somber and grim.
Kids' socks, their shoes, their personal effects that you can't forget.
What else have you found?
So you will find, we have found a lot of bones out here.
Bones, both animal and human, likely from Native American tribes hundreds of years ago, but Ryan says they still bag and tag those for DNA testing. So far, though, no match to the missing.
It's just I feel like I failed them. I feel like I failed Seal's family. I feel like I failed the Ramseys. I'm one of the last people standing out here, and we haven't found them.
But despite the odds, painfully bleak a year later, their search goes on. And if you ask them why,
it just feels like it's something important to do.
The answer's clear.
So if it was my child, I would want somebody out looking for them.
Is there still hope?
There's always hope. But I do pray that the families are able to find a way to be at peace.
Jeremy Rogowski with that heartfelt story about a couple of heroes. Thank you. And with that, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Mia Gradney.
I'm Cindy Aguirre in Dallas with a look at your headlines from North Texas, and we begin with serious concerns in Irving. A man has been arrested accused of secretly recording women while they were using the restroom. And we just got a look at court documents suggesting there could be hundreds of victims. Scoop Jefferson is at the shopping center at the center of this investigation with how police are asking potential victims to come forward.
That is shocking to me. As we are about to walk into the store.
Joelle is taking her daughter Camille birthday shopping, both shocked to learn what a man is accused of doing inside one of their favorite stores. Irving police say 19-year-old Macarius Bates spent months secretly recording women in dressing rooms and restrooms, including the one here at TJ Maxx on MacArthur Boulevard.
Who does that? Oh my goodness, who does that?
Police arrested Bates at this Kroger near TJ Maxx, saying he had already secretly recorded women at a different Kroger.
Bates was arrested on June 26 on multiple counts of invasive visual recording.
Detective Maria Herring shared what she considers even more alarming evidence in their case against Bates.
There's nearly 300 images, right, that are invading someone's privacy, and we just haven't narrowed down exactly how many victims.
The images, police say, date back to April, showing women in department stores, dressing rooms, and restrooms, victims not yet identified.
If you know or believe that your privacy was invaded at some point while you're in a shopping area, then contact the police department.
Detective Herring says for any victims that do come forward, she'll make sure they get the help they need.
We can provide them with counseling if they feel like they need it.
The incidents are also shocking to Irving shopper Timmy, who usually shops online.
You don't use the dressing room?
I don't use the dressing rooms, no.
Why not?
Because why should I? I'm used to when I come to the store, I'm usually in a hurry. I usually want to go in and come back out.
WFAA is waiting to hear back from TJ Maxx about what police say happened in their store, as Joelle also encourages possible victims to come forward.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. It happened. They didn't realize it. They should come forward.
In Irving, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Dallas City libraries will close today, the first of 3 furlough days, to make up for the widening gap in the city's budget. And shrinking waistlines are one multi-million-dollar reason Dallas is tightening its belt. Cole Sullivan shows us how weight loss drugs are costing North Texas cities millions.
For calorie counters,
give me 1 second.
It's pounds.
Because it is a significant amount.
Kristen Smith is concerned about dollars at the city of Fort Worth.
Luckily or unluckily, I've been talking about this a lot.
The city's HR director says weight loss drugs are tipping the scales for the city's budget. GLP-1s like Ozempic now make up more than a third of employee pharmacy costs.
Every other drug for every other category, meaning, cancers and MS and, just everything that you can think of that would be covered on a health plan. That one category alone is 40%, and it is actually over 40%.
And expanding fast. Fort Worth says the number of people on the drugs went up by nearly half between April and May alone.
I describe it as a little bit of a runaway train in being able to rein in those expenses.
Otherwise, city departments like parks and libraries and others will start to feel the squeeze and be forced to trim. And it's not just Fort Worth. Dallas says employee health care costs are nearly $14 million over budget, supersized in part by GLP-1s.
The most immediate way to reduce the spend in this category is to change the coverage.
Fort Worth is notifying employees it plans to cut coverage for cutting fat, at least pharmaceutically.
There are many other ways to approach weight loss.
Smith says the city considered whether employees with healthier weights would mean fewer expenses in the long term for things like heart issues or knee replacements. But with the cost for these drugs at more than $1 million a month, it was just too heavy to bear. Back to you.
A North Texas man collapsed at the gym from cardiac arrest. Quick work and dedication from gym mates, first responders, and hospital staff turned a dire situation into a full recovery. Kevin Reese shows us how the man thanked them for saving his life.
On that February night at CrossFit OTL, Bob Douglas was struggling. The box jumps a bit more difficult than usual.
After finishing part of his workout, Bob had walked back out to the parking lot and was walking back into CrossFit OTL and had just opened the outside doors walking into the lobby when he collapsed.
His CrossFit partners started CPR. One grabbed the defibrillator from the wall. Firefighter paramedics arrived next.
I was looking over their shoulder as I saw Bob's eyes roll back in his head.
The gym owner, Javier Jaime, learned it was a massive heart attack.
And everybody was, praying and hoping for, him to come out the way he has.
Because today, 5 months later.
And I just love being here and celebrating these moments.
Moments where Bob gets to meet all the people who saved him.
Enough oxygen going there where there was no brain damage, at least none that I'm aware of. You might see something different. I was really shocked. I thought I was healthy. I'd been
Bob is 57. He had 3 blockages in his heart. It would take a triple bypass and weeks in the hospital before he could thank the Medical City North Hills team and the North Richland Hills firefighters who saved him.
There's too many coincidences.
And thank his CrossFit companions. If they hadn't acted quickly, doctors say he might have never had a chance.
Pretty phenomenal. The last time I saw him, he was lifeless and pale and laying on the gym floor.
My message to them is, I cannot express in words how grateful I am for your concern about someone you don't even know.
The survival rate for someone who suffers cardiac arrest outside of a hospital is just 10%. Bob is one of those lucky few, thanks to a medical team and a CrossFit family dedicated to bringing him back.
Beyond grateful. It's hard to express in words because they saved my life.
In North Richland Hills, I'm Kevin Reese.
Wally Funk spent decades fighting for the chance to go to space and was 82 years old when she finally achieved that dream. Sean Giggy first shared her remarkable story 5 years ago, and now he's giving us a look at her resilience and determination as we remember her.
The middle of the West Texas desert is the middle of nowhere. And yet, people from everywhere
New York
showed up.
Brooklyn.
They came to see a rocket launch.
It's like it's ready to fly.
Most waited all night. But what's more impressive than spending hours in an empty desert
I mean, I think it's amazing.
is waiting 60 years to get here.
And I want to thank you, sweetheart, because you made it possible for me. I've been waiting a long time.
Wally Funk wasn't the first woman to go to space, but she could have been.
She has been denied this for so long, for I think like 60-something years.
Wally trained to be an astronaut.
Oh, you can hear it now.
But in 1961, NASA didn't want women going to space.
No way could this happen.
By the time they finally relented, they said she was too old.
Wally Funk is the one who deserves to be up there.
Jeff Bezos finally gave her the chance.
Can you believe a woman? Yeah, her dream came true.
Some in Van Horn watched from the high school auditorium.
I believe they should have let her do this a long time ago.
She's waited 82 years.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I felt so charged. I was not nervous. I was just normal person. It was great. I loved it. I could hardly wait to go again.
Wally was in space just 4 minutes, far less than she might have been decades earlier. And while this does not erase that mistake, it's proof that wherever there are barriers, women will knock them down.
It's never really early over until you say it is. And I mean, she really went to space at 82 years old, so.
Thank you. More to come.
Wally Funk died peacefully at her home Wednesday night in Grapevine, and she will be dearly missed. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
Happy Friday, everybody. KVUE Chief Meteorologist Hunter Williams here with a look at our forecast as we head into the weekend. Obviously, it's been a lot of heat this week. We've got places like Dallas and Austin that had the first triple-digit heat of the summer. More triple digits for Dallas Friday, but then as we get into the weekend, it's going to be kind of a slow process. Saturday still at 99, but by Sunday, rain chances started to boost up, so we're going to see numbers coming down across parts of the state, especially the eastern third or so of the state. Houston, low to mid-90s next 3 days, low 90s. Corpus, low to mid-90s in Brownsville. Meanwhile, you go out to West Texas, places like El Paso, triple-digit heat will continue through Friday and Saturday. Okay, so about these rain chances, let's walk through them. As we go into the afternoon and evening of our Friday, that's where we're going to have isolated to scattered showers and storms mainly over central, south central, and also parts of southeastern Texas. The overnight's going to be primarily quiet, but not totally so. Models hinting at maybe a complex of some heavier rain down along the border through the overnight and early Saturday. And likewise, some showers and heavy downpours for parts of the Houston metro, down along the coast, Galveston, down towards the Beaumont area. The bigger rain chance on Saturday, though, is not going to be early in the day. It's going to be for the afternoon into the early evening. So here's 5 p.m. on Saturday. At that point, we've got these scattered showers and storms over central Texas, heading down towards San Antonio, parts of the valley as well. A little bit drier for North Texas, DFW area, as well as West Texas and the Panhandle, but still a few isolated showers and storms will be a possibility. Here's Sunday morning, the morning mainly quiet, but then heading into the afternoon, this is about 3 o'clock, we're going to start to have more showers and thunderstorms bubbling up once again for south central Texas, southeast Texas, and parts of east Texas. Then for the DFW area, we actually have a little boundary approaching from the north, so by Sunday, even for parts of North Texas and the Panhandle, we're going to have rain chances that are increasing. That will start to drop the high temperatures down a little bit. Again, I know we've had some triple-digit heat for many areas through this week. And then as we go into early next week, the rain chances actually boost even more, especially for places like Austin down to San Antonio, Temple, Waco areas for Monday, and then also into the day on Tuesday. And obviously, we've had a pretty active early summer for many areas. The month of June, for example, brought some really beneficial rain for much of the state. But now we've got places like Austin that all of a sudden have been 19 days without any measurable rainfall. So we actually need some rain, especially for central and south central parts of the state where some drought conditions persist. So as we go over the next 7 days, the model data continues to come in a little bit more aggressive. Now, this won't all happen in one single day, but over the course of the next 7 days, anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rainfall will be possible for many areas. Here's a look at the extended forecast, our 8 to 14-day temperature outlook favoring slightly above normal to above normal temperatures, and that would be a lot of like mid to upper 90s for afternoon highs. And then also, this is interesting, favoring slightly above normal to above normal rainfall. The month of July, not typically one that brings a ton of rain for much of our state, but some more beneficial rain could be a good thing for us. That also helps to keep temperatures down this time of the year, and that's assuming we can avoid any sort of big flood threat. Here's our 3-day forecast for all areas across the state. El Paso, 102 Friday, 100 on Saturday, 95 on Sunday. DFW area, triple digits Friday, upper 90s on Saturday. And then Sundays when rain chances start to drop those highs back down to the mid-90s, a little closer to average for this time of the year. For Austin, we've got a better rain chance coming in for Saturday and Sunday. Houston, Beaumont, Tyler, we're looking at really scattered storm chances each day, but especially Saturday and Sunday. Heading down to the San Antonio area, 92 on Saturday, 93 on Sunday, some hit or miss showers and storms. Then for the Valley, we're looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, maybe even some triple digits by Sunday. You'll have a good weekend. We'll keep you updated on the forecast.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. A 4th of July shooting that injured 6 people is the latest in a troubling pattern of gun violence involving multiple victims. As Sue Kalberg reports, police say they have new information in the case.
The shooting that happened here July 4th wasn't the first time that trouble came calling. It was actually the 3rd attack since May.
First of all, that shooting was not random. Those folks were after somebody.
Police Chief William McManus says one of the people shot in the East Side ambush on the 4th of July is actually a suspect, and the hunt is on to identify others.
One of the individuals who was shot is a suspect. So we've got that individual.
And he says they're working on a second shooter.
We're looking for him, or at least trying still to identify him.
As for the man who died, 18-year-old Corey Dixon Good, the chief says they're still looking into whether he will be called a target or a suspect.
That I don't know.
Okay. SAPD was also here at this corner July 2nd for another shooting. The report says 2 women in their 60s and another in her 30s were here when the place was sprayed with bullets and shell casings were on the ground. Nobody was hit then. But May 6th, same, but with younger victims. The police report says girls aged 4 and 14 and a 13-year-old boy were here when bullets came flying through windows. With cameras now watching everything that moves, the chief says he hopes they offer some degree of comfort while their search continues. The chief says progress is coming. In East San Antonio, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
The FBI says it's seeing an uptick in online violent extremist groups targeting and exploiting young people. That warning comes as a San Antonio man tied to one of those groups was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. Simone Simpson has the warning for parents.
Prosecutors say 19-year-old Alexis Aldar Chavez led a San Antonio-based online extremist group connected to the 764 network targeting vulnerable minors.
He got these females to cut themselves, to burn themselves, to drink their own urine, to engage in various sex acts, and one particular individual to swallow a bunch of pills in an attempt to have her at least try to commit suicide.
The FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office, Western District of Texas, confirmed Chavez would go by Zach 8884 online. The girls who were victims in this case ranged between the age of 10 to 17.
We understand it's unsettling to hear this, but we also know that being honest about the danger is essential to protecting families, because awareness saves lives.
Special Agent in Charge Daniel Faith says the FBI is currently investigating more than 500 people who were tied to violent online networks, more than double the number this time last summer.
So generally these cases are started The individuals in the network will contact the younger folks through various means. It could be a chat, it could be gaming platforms. For us, the importance is to raise awareness that anytime your teenagers, your children have the ability to communicate or chat electronically, you need to be aware and you need to be tracking that.
On Wednesday, Chavez was sentenced to 40 years in prison in lifetime supervised release.
This kind of stuff is going on all the time, and you need to be vigilant. These nihilistic, violent extremist groups, those who believe in that type of ideology, really are seeking to bring down the United States government and modern society in general, basically by corrupting our youth.
Simone Simpson, KENS 5.
Colonoscopy procedures typically take less than an hour, and they can save a life years before cancer ever has a chance to develop. As Jeremy Baker reports, new AI tech being used in San Antonio is making outcomes better for patients.
Physicians at the University of Texas at UT Health San Antonio are now using artificial intelligence-powered technology during colonoscopies to help detect precancerous polyps in real time. They say it's like a second pair of eyes, serving as a second observer capable of detecting cancer even earlier.
It's important for a physician to always be there and to be doing a good job, going slowly through the colon, looking at all the nooks and crannies. Just being able to have 4 eyes instead of 2 looking at the colon wall can help us pick some of those very subtle findings.
A colonoscopy is one of the few screening tools capable of detecting cancer early and preventing it altogether. Screenings identify and remove precancerous polyps that can develop into colorectal cancer over time. By detecting polyps earlier, physicians can help patients avoid more invasive complex treatments and have a lower risk of this deadly disease.
So if we find them early during a colonoscopy, we can remove them and prevent that risk of those polyps turning into cancer down the road.
Some of the risk factors for colorectal cancer you need to be aware of include being overweight or obese, having a sedentary lifestyle, too much alcohol and tobacco, a higher risk as you age, and family history.
Or some other medical conditions that might predispose them to the development of colorectal cancer earlier. So they might have an earlier age range to start at.
Researchers also stress colorectal cancer doesn't only affect the patient, so if you won't get screened for yourself, do it for your loved ones. In the studio, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Quita Culpepper in Austin. There are big concerns over a 700-acre rock quarry that could be carved out in Burnett County. Area homeowners aren't the only ones pushing back. Operators of a popular summer camp in the Hill Country, just a few miles from the proposed site, say there could be issues with dust and groundwater. KVU's Allison Hill shows us what's in store if the quarry moves forward.
For generations, summers in the Texas Hill Country have meant lake days, outdoor games, and memories that last a lifetime. But at Camp Buckner, leaders worry a proposed development in Burnett County could change that.
We have a quality of life here. We love it here, and that's about to change.
Just a few miles away, a proposed 700-acre rock crushing quarry off Hoover Valley Road is moving through the permitting process. The company running the project, Asphalt Incorporated, has already received key permits from the Lower Colorado River Authority and Texas Commission on environmental quality, but it's still seeking a groundwater permit. The Groundwater District says it will review whether this request meets its permitting standards.
We're very concerned about a rock quarry coming in this close. As you can see, this is beautiful land.
Just down the road here at Camp Longhorn, the concerns hit even closer to home. The proposed quarry would share a fence line with the camp.
We're all outdoors, and having a rock crushing quarry is something that could be devastating for children. I mean, we're talking about the health and safety of children.
In a statement to KVU, Asphalt Incorporated says it's committed to being a good neighbor, using industry best practices, complying with environmental regulations, and mitigating impacts on the local community. But in the meantime, both camps say they'll keep fighting to protect what they believe makes this corner of the Hill Country so special.
All camps in Texas are really focused on keeping camps safe for children. It's not lost on me that now we're fighting a different battle. Now we're fighting a different kind of threat to that safety.
In Burnett County, Allison Hill, KVU News.
A fire burned an abandoned structure and the flames spread to nearby brush in southeast Travis County on Wednesday. According to Travis County Fire Rescue, the fire happened on Moore Road, west of the 130 toll road. Additional firefighting resources, including the Austin Fire Department, were called to the scene. The cause of that fire remains under investigation. Hayes County residents can now access government services online with a new website. The updated site lets people pay taxes, apply for permits, and submit requests directly from their phones or computers. Officials say the redesign includes better tools for people with disabilities and a subscription feature to get text or email alerts on different topics. Addresses along a stretch of Highway 71 in Bastrop County could soon see some changes to help prevent confusion. County leaders say the current numbering system is slowing down emergency response times. But changing the numbers would impact several homes and businesses. KVU's Jessica Cha has their concerns.
Imagine calling 911, and the hardest part is explaining where you are. On State Highway 71 in Bastrop County, that is a real issue for some people.
See if I can get one to pull an ad.
But to understand the problem, you have to talk to the people responding to those 911 calls, like Alan Johnson with Bastrop County EMS.
We do have some confusing address ranges. The city and the county are responsible for addressing in their jurisdictions, and there's some overlap of block ranges.
Johnson says that repeating block numbers are their biggest issue. So for example, on this side of FM 969, SH71 goes from the 900 block to 800 to 700 and so forth. But on the other side of 969, the blocks will go back down to 600, then to 700, 800, and 900. And he says that can make it hard to know which specific block they're going to. Johnson says crews across the county get an address wrong at least twice a week, and every second counts during an emergency.
Especially as this county is growing and we're getting more and more businesses and more apartment complexes and residents moving in here, you know, the opportunity for something to go bad certainly is increasing.
So now the county is stepping in. In April, leaders formed a committee to straighten out the system by renumbering the highway, which also includes eliminating duplicate addresses and odd and even addresses on the same side of the road. But that can come at a cost. A Just Chiropractor is just one out of 1,700 addresses along SH71 that could be impacted by a change to the addressing system.
And so changing addresses is significant for small businesses, especially that are dependent on insurance.
Dr. Matthew Mix says when he moved into his current building a few years ago, changing his address with insurance companies took months to figure out.
So we were still caring for the patients that we see, we just weren't getting reimbursed for them.
So Mix says he hopes the committee will take this kind of impact to small businesses into account. In Bastrop, Jessica Cha, KVU News.
As the temperatures climb in central Texas, families in Buda are finding fewer places to cool off. KVU's Jose Alonso shows us why both of the city's splash pads are closed and the timeline to reopen them.
When it comes to the Texas heat and parks, families usually avoid the playgrounds.
It's really almost impossible to be at this park in the middle of the summer just because of how hot it is.
Rebecca Gravette took her son Elijah to the Buda City Park splash pads, which is usually gushing with water and providing summer entertainment. But right now, it's deserted.
I'm just a little disappointed. Obviously, it's really hot and we just wanted to get some playtime in before we go have dinner.
Park manager Juan Mosqueda says they're investigating a mechanical failure that could cost about $5,000 to fix. We asked him how long it could take until it's repaired.
We shut it down for safety reasons and for health reasons, and until we evaluate and figure out what we're up against. We're assuming possibly a week to 2 weeks.
After announcing the city park splash pads would not be available to the public, the city recommended that residents check out the Green Meadows splash pads. But as you can tell, they also ran into an issue here.
The heat doesn't help. All those electronics, those computer boards, I mean, you don't put your laptop or anything in the heat. or even your cell phone, you put it on the concrete pretty quick and it'll shut down on you.
These splash pads are the only public watering holes in the city. So while repairs take place and temperatures rise, this mom says,
We will definitely be back.
the city says the water shall flow once again before the summer is over. In Buda, Jose Alonso, KVUE News.
Restoration work at the Elizabeth Ney Museum is wrapping up soon here in Austin, and we now have an idea of when it might reopen. Those involved say the building itself is finished and has received its final certificate of occupancy. Now crews are focusing on the pedestrian bridge and finishing site details to meet safety rules. While museum staff say the famous sculptures are already moving back inside, the full reopening is pushed to spring of 2027. And that's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. If you're needing plans for a Labor Day weekend, consider coming to Central Texas. The Central Texas State Fair is going to be back in town for its 39th annual year, and it will be hosted at the Huntington Bank Expo Center in Belton. There will be live music, mutton busting, pig racing, and a demolition derby. Fair officials held a press conference recently to share how the fair benefits Central Texas.
Huge economic impact. So when you think about it, you have people coming in from all over. So they maybe leave here and go to a restaurant, or they leave here to go shopping, or they may stay the weekend because it is a 4-day event. So that's the reason we have this for economic impacts.
The fair will feature at least 100 vendors, and it's expected to draw 40,000 visitors. Let one of them be you. Copperas Cove Mayor Dan Yancey decided not to proclaim June as Pride Month in 2027. The mayor made that decision in Tuesday evening's PAC City Council meeting, and the request came after a previous council meeting where a council member asked for the item to be placed on the agenda for discussion. Dozens of people attended the meeting, sharing both their support for and opposition to the proposed proclamation. Some of the people who spoke shared that it would help make all residents feel welcome, while others argued it should not be issued. After almost an hour of public comments, the mayor declined to issue the proclamation, saying he recognizes the LGBTQ+ community as a valued part of Copperas Cove, but did not believe the proclamation would benefit the community as a whole. Both in Tuesday's meeting and after the mayor's decision, people shared their disappointment of what was decided on and feel like their community isn't being heard.
The Copperas Cove I know, the Copperas Cove I'm proud to say that I'm from, is one of the greatest places to raise a family, be a part of the community, feel welcomed, and have the opportunity to participate in making the city better. And we should be proud to honor anyone that wants to be a part of that.
One council member suggested that in the future, the city should consider creating a formal policy for future proclamation requests. And following Copperas Cove's decision, other nearby cities, including Nolanville, have approved proclamations recognizing June as Pride Month in 2027. But just like in Copperas Cove, the decision has received both support and opposition. It may still be summer, but our Central Texas teachers are already preparing for next school year, and we're working to help them out. Our Sydney Walker has more on our 4th annual Taking Care of Teachers school supply drive.
Before the first bell rings, 6 News wants to make sure our teachers are taken care of.
They need to be equipped in their classroom, and their kids need to have everything that they need for their education.
Along with Greg May Honda,
our teachers are really unsung heroes.
iHeartRadio Media.
They have got to be able to have the supplies and things that they need. I mean, that's just a basic given.
And the Salvation Army of Waco.
All of us can think back to a time when we were in school and there was that special teacher or teachers that just made a huge difference in our lives.
Our 4th annual Taking Care of Teachers school supply drive works to help take the burden off of teachers.
Teachers many times use their own money to buy supplies for the kids that are coming into their classroom,
so they can invest in our students.
They're not having to worry about that. All they're having to worry about is spending time giving our kids a good education
without opening up their wallets.
Those teachers love their students so much that they always go out there and buy these supplies. We want to stop them from having to do that and just give to them the opportunity to have all those supplies ready and waiting.
Everyday supplies.
Paper, pens, folders, rulers.
Supplies we may not even think twice about, but mean the world to our teachers.
To have a teacher go, oh, markers, I always run out of markers. Here's a whole box, that's great. Or highlighters or glue or just, very simple things all the way down to pencils.
So stop by.
And we want to fill up as many of these new Hondas with school supplies as we can.
To give back.
This is such a good way to do that. Simple and easy to donate and help out. And it's going to make you feel good too.
And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Here's your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. What should have been a day of celebration and ended in heartbreak for one family. 45-year-old Blanca Sandino Sanchez was one of 2 women killed in a head-on crash on the 4th of July. Sandino Sanchez's family, they are remembering her as an amazing, beautiful, strong woman and mother. 12 News reporter Daniela Tapuada-Palau, she spoke exclusively with Blanca's eldest daughter, who says that these past few days since her mother's passing have been horrible for the whole family.
It just doesn't feel right that you're gone. It's just, we still have more things to do, Mommy.
Saturday started as a day filled with 4th of July celebration for many, like the Sandino Sanchez family.
My mom took them out to Houston to go eat, thrift, have fun.
Their day turned into tragedy on their way back home. DPS say an oncoming car crossed into their lane on State Highway 73, killing Blanca Sandino Sanchez as well as the other driver, Hillary Newton. Beaumont police tell us drivers need to put their full attention on the road to avoid crashes like this.
We really wish to let drivers know to remove any distractions whatsoever. That's going to be the biggest thing when it comes to any type of collision, let alone head-on collisions.
Stephanie Sanchez, Blanca's oldest daughter, remembers her mom as a strong, independent woman who always knew how to stay positive. And although she's gone, Stephanie says she still has ways to feel closer to her mother.
When I look at my siblings, it reminds me of her personality. I see all my mommy personality in them with just a little bit of twists of their own.
Stephanie says that 2 of her 3 brothers that were in the car with Blanca are still in the hospital waiting for a couple more surgeries, while the 3rd has already been cleared. But before anything else, Stephanie has a message for all drivers.
Drive careful and pay attention to your surroundings.
Well, a fire destroyed the Allegiance EMS station in Woodville Tuesday, forcing emergency crews to evacuate the building. The fire ripped through the attic of the building, destroying the station where paramedics slept between shifts, and now it's displaced them temporarily. But county leaders there say that the loss, it has not impacted emergency response, and crews, they continue to serve the community. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato, she spoke with first responders who say they moved quickly to make sure that 911 calls across Tyler County continue without interruption.
It was hot. My guys were tired.
A fire that threatened more than just a building, but the home base for Tyler County's Allegiance Emergency Medical Services.
My guys got there and said there was fire coming through the EV side of the structure with flame blowing out of the attic. They made an initial attack, went in, knocked it down. While they were doing that, was getting oxygen bottles and stuff out of the building.
The building housed the sleeping quarters, kitchen, and living space for the EMS team of 5. With 2 med units and 1 supervisor truck.
Fire was mostly in the attic part of the building. The building's pretty much a total loss due to fire, smoke, and water damage.
Despite the station being destroyed, officials say the county's emergency response plan immediately went into action.
We have housing for them. They're being staged right now in the hospital. They're working closely with our office to make sure that the services continue to be provided for our county.
For county leaders, the priority wasn't replacing a building, it was making sure no one dialing 911 would notice a difference.
Remarkable that we were able to continue with uninterrupted service for 911 coverage for our county.
Officials say keeping staff centrally located means help can still reach patients just as quickly despite losing the EMS station.
They're still going to get their dispatch and page outs just like they would if they were there. So it's not, I don't think there's going to be any disruption in the service.
That was Spencer Plato reporting. The Texas State Fire Marshal's office is now investigating. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. A recent New Summerfield High School graduate is being remembered as a bright light with a kind heart and a future full of promise. 18-year-old Guadalupe Lupita Murrieta died Saturday night in a crash in Cherokee County, leaving behind loved ones mourning a life they say was taken too soon. CBS 19's Renee Estrada spoke with her family about the young woman they say will never be forgotten.
For the Morena family, their home is now filled with the quiet left behind by their daughter, sister, and best friend, Guadalupe Lupita Morena.
We would basically do everything together. She would even work with me.
She was like my best friend other than my sister.
The 18-year-old was a recent New Summerfield High School graduate who her family said had a way of bringing light into their lives.
Pita was a bright light in this house and on our lives.
According to the Texas Department of Public Safety, Lupita died Saturday night after her Jeep veered off the road on FM 2064 in Cherokee County and hit a tree and caught fire.
I was absolutely devastated because my strength was running out. I wanted to get her out. I kept shouting at her to see if she would get up, but no, she didn't answer me anymore.
Lupita worked at the Jacksonville Early Learning Center and was preparing to attend Stephen F. Austin State University, where she planned to pursue nursing. Her brother Juan says she had been thinking about her future for years.
She would always give me a call every once in a while to ask for guidance on what she should do after high school.
Her family says she loved spending time with them, going to the gym, and shopping. They say she was quiet at times, but her presence could fill a room.
She impacted everybody in ways none of us can put into words.
To her mother, Lupita was a companion, a hardworking student, and a young woman who wanted to make something of herself.
She didn't deserve it. She was a very good girl. As I say, none of us are perfect. But she was a very good person. She didn't bother anyone. She worked hard at her studies. She wanted to make something of herself.
Now, her family is holding on to memories of her smile, her love, and the future she was working towards. In Trope, Renee Estrada, CBS 19.
And a deadly head-on crash in Smith County has left 4 people dead and a 2-year-old fighting for its life. Investigators say none of the 5 people involved were wearing a seatbelt. CBS 19's Nelly Carrillo has more on why advocates say this is another tragic reminder of the importance of buckling up.
A stretch of Highway 155 in Flint was shut down for hours Thursday after a crash that left 4 people dead.
For an unknown reason, the Toyota Highlander, the SUV, crossed over into the northbound lane and struck the Cadillac head-on. All of the adults in the Cadillac were pronounced deceased on scene.
A 2-year-old who was riding in the Cadillac was flown to Children's Medical Center in Dallas.
We can confirm that no one was seatbelted in.
Officials say whether you're headed across town or across the state, wearing a seatbelt can make the difference between life and death.
It's summer, people are vacationing, people are still going to work, they're taking trips together as families. And so just always be aware of your surroundings, especially if you're coming over a blind hill or a blind curve. Make sure that you're following those recommended safety features, seat belts, car seats for everyone that require them.
Michelle Sachs with the Kaylee Mills Foundation says too often fatal crashes share one thing in common.
It's very rare, that our first responders are pulling someone out of a car who has lost their lives, who was wearing a seatbelt. It happens, but it is such a small percentage.
The foundation was created after 16-year-old Kaylee Mills was killed in a crash after momentarily unbuckling her seatbelt.
And we want everyone to get home, and we want everyone to be safe. And it is probably the #1 most preventable death on the road.
Today, the foundation's mission is to save lives by encouraging everyone to buckle up, every seat, every ride.
And that's a wrap for your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's making news in South Texas. A political fight over groundwater in Nueces County now being taken up at the state capitol. A state representative is pushing to eliminate Corpus Christi's groundwater conservation district, saying the city shouldn't regulate an aquifer while being one of its largest users. Michael Gibson has that story.
The political battle over Corpus Christi's groundwater pumping is escalating. State Representative Denise Villalobos says she'll file legislation to abolish the city's Aquifer Storage and Recovery Conservation District and replace it with what she calls an independent groundwater conservation district. The move follows months of criticism from rural property owners west of Calallen who fear the city's expanding well field along the Nueces River could impact private wells and the aquifer.
Currently with the ASR district, it's pure conflict of interest because they are the city and the ASR are the large volume users essentially when it comes to the aquifer and the well owners, and so rural Nueces County doesn't feel like they have a voice in the process.
City leaders reject those claims, saying the district was created by state law and that Corpus Christi has followed every legal requirement throughout the permitting process.
An important thing, though, is that this groundwater conservation district was approved by the Texas legislature. We're following the law as prescribed by the legislature. We're not doing anything below board. We're following the law.
City Manager Zanoni also says the city wants to meet directly with Villalobos before any legislation moves forward.
What we want to do is have that conversation with her. We have not had any conversation. Nobody in the city has had any conversation with the representative, and that's important. And so our intergovernmental relations director has been in the process of reaching out to her team, her staff, the representative staff.
Meanwhile, organizers of the proposed Nueces County Groundwater Conservation District are applauding Villalobos' announcement. In a statement, they thanked the representative for what they called bringing the conflict of interest into the light and for standing up for Nueces County private well owners. Villalobos says she plans to file the legislation when lawmakers return to Austin next year.
Michael Gibson reporting. You know, every day, injured birds from across the coastal bend find their way to Wings Rescue in Rockport. As the nonprofit celebrates 10 years of giving wildlife a second chance, Lexus Green shows us how it first took flight.
For nearly a decade, Wings Rescue has been giving injured birds a second chance, and it takes a flock of dedicated volunteers to make it happen.
She goes for walks just about every single day with me.
Amy Binkowski wears many hats around the rescue.
I have many titles here, but the one I'm proudest of is that I'm a raptor handler and rehabber.
Amy's journey to Wings Rescue started with one injured pelican, a call for help that would soon turn into a new purpose.
And one thing led to another, and I came here and I fell in love with the place and had been here ever since. So my husband and I actually live here on property, and we're full-time caretakers as well.
10 years ago, there was no rescue center, no property, just one woman.
Our first year we had nothing. We rescued, I think, 300 out of the back of our cars. We didn't have carriers, we didn't have this land, we didn't have anything.
Today, Wings Rescue cares for nearly 900 birds every year. No one here is on the payroll, not even longtime resident Gary the Goose.
We do it because we love the birds, and when we do releases, that's our payday.
For the volunteers, watching a bird take flight again makes every hour worthwhile.
We love these guys, and you get so attached to them when they're hurt. Most of those birds anywhere else would have been euthanized, but they show us they want to live.
And somewhere along the way, the rescue became more than Miss Kay's life work. It became her family.
I don't have any kids. I don't have any family anymore, and except for here. These guys are my family. I'm called the mother of the flock.
A great and needed organization. Hey, that is a quick look at some of what's making news in South Texas.